Hey everyone, what's up? What's up? Savannah, thank you for joining us. How are you doing today?
Thank you for having me. I'm doing good. Yourself?
Good. I'm super excited to have you on the Live Fearlessly vlog. And I'm going to give you a quick little introduction so the viewers can get to know you a little bit before we dive in, talking about how you live fearlessly, what that looks like, and all of the awesomeness that you're going to share with us today. So, guys, thank you for tuning in. Let us know that you're there, and anything that resonates with you, go ahead and comment. Let us know. If you are feeling the urge to want to reach out to Savannah, absolutely do that. We'll have her contact information and everything available for you guys. Savannah Blake is a spiritual life coach, meditation teacher, and birth doula at Earth and Water Co., who helps women unleash their inner warrior goddesses through chakras, mindset, and alignment work so that they can conquer the battles of life, feeling more supported in their ventures and love who they are. Yes, I'm sure you guys can tell that that's why we're like really hitting it off since we got to know each other. I'm super excited that you're here. And Savannah, what we said it before, but I feel like it goes really well with everything that I just talked about you. What is your celebration today? I would love for you to share.
So I recently finished my yoga certification, and I got a job teaching 2 classes a week at a local gym starting in July. It's the first time I've ever taught an official class on yoga, but I've been studying for like 8 years, and I can't do yoga at home. I have 2 small children. It's very hard to find time to do it at home because A, when you have small children and you get on the floor, they think it's time to play. And B, it's hard to make yourself find that time when the dishes need to be done and the laundry needs to be done and all of that. So I essentially went and found a way to get paid to do yoga twice a week.
Hell yeah. So smart, you guys. How smart is that, right? Like, let's get paid to do the things that we want for ourselves, but we're finding a little bit of hard time figuring out, how to make it all work. Like, why not do that? That's brilliant. I love it. So yoga, meditation, birthing doula, like all things calm and peaceful, and I love it so much. Congratulations.
I used to think it was way over, like all over the place and whatnot. Like, what am I? Am I a yoga instructor, a meditation teacher, a life coach? Like, but it all does like go into like the same ball of mind, body, spirit, healing type of things. So
yeah, I love it. It's so interesting how we all view our own entrepreneur journeys like differently, because I have 4 businesses. And I've had other things too, but everyone would always ask me, like, how do you do all of that? And like you said, I see like how it all comes together. Like you, I'm getting paid for parts of it that like I really want to just implement in my vision of what I wanted for my life. That's perfect.
Right.
That just makes sense, right? Like, we don't want to have to work harder than we need to. Like, let's be smart and get paid to do the things that A, we love, B, we're passionate about, and C, like, that are just plain good for your body and your soul and like all the good things, right? Everyone benefits from that stuff.
Right.
I love it. So how old are your kids?
My son is 5. He just turned 5. And then my daughter is 2.
Perfect. I love it. Yay. And Savannah, go ahead and tell the viewers, where are you located?
I'm in Alabama.
Yeah, I don't think I've talked to anybody from Alabama. What was that?
That's all I have to say about that.
I was just going to say, like, I don't think I've had anyone from Alabama yet, so that's fun.
I don't really often find many people who are in the online space in Alabama either. So, like, Tennessee has a good number that I come across from time to time, but Alabama itself, like, I don't know. I don't know if we're just not in the same areas of expertise and whatnot, or I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. So are you from Alabama?
So as from as you can get. You can only go back about 3 or 4 generations until you hit Native Americans that are right here in this area. So like as from as it gets, roots as deep as the oak tree.
Hello. Oh, that's so awesome. That's so cool. Like I don't know. I know that a lot of times people are like, oh yeah, I don't leave, but it's really cool because a lot of people don't stay where they are. So it's a different dynamic, and yeah, it can be challenging that way too, knowing everyone and everyone knowing you and all the things. But I love it. You're in such a unique space, right? Your industry and how you live your life, I'm assuming, right? Like when you have these core things as your business, as your regular life, like you probably live a very different life than a lot of people in Alabama. And
oh gosh, what an understatement.
Definitely a gift, I'm sure. There. So it's super fun. So we touched on a lot of interesting facts. I usually have people tell us hey, what's a fun fact about you? Is there anything else that you want us to know before we dive in about fear?
I don't know. I can't pinpoint anything. That I feel like most things about me is a fun fact. So I'm just very different.
Yeah. Hey, I love it. I love when people are like, I'm just weird. And I'm like,
yeah, that's it.
Weird is the new cool. So being different, being weird,
I wish it was cool when I was in high school.
Right. Right. Yep. Totally. Well, we only know what we know when we know it.
Right.
But okay, so then let's just dive in. Let's just get to know your story more and so go ahead and you just tell us, right, about a significant time in your life when fear held you back from living your life fully.
So fear held me back from living my life fully at every moment of my life until I was probably nearly 25. And I had such anxiety about everything. I had social anxiety, trauma-based anxiety, which
society probably had something to do with that.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. That turned into postpartum anxiety, which turned into allergy-based anxiety. I've had them all. I've lived life on the sidelines my entire life. I didn't try out for anything. I didn't talk to anybody. I didn't have friends because I was terrified to talk to people. And so I would just sit in the back of the classroom in the back corner, closed up. I was always hunched over with my head down. I kept my hair down and in my face so that it kind of felt like a protection type thing. Didn't move because I was terrified somebody might notice I exist. I couldn't even like a Facebook post on social media because the act of liking it would alert somebody to my existence. Couldn't do it. Oh. I live in a one-horse town. Everybody knows everybody knows everybody. My graduating class was 70 people, and we went 46. K through 12. Yeah, okay, so you get it. K through 12, I went to school with these people. I knew their cousins, their aunts, their uncles, their parents. I had been to their houses. They had been to my house. We had, seen each other every day, and none of them had heard me say a single word. So that's how badly my fear and anxiety held me back in life. I know my dad.
I wasn't aware that there was so many different forms of anxiety. Oh, yeah. You mentioned 3 or 4. I don't even know. I'm just whoa. So I honestly didn't even realize there was really different levels of it per se. So what was probably the biggest one, right? What was the one that you were maybe the better question is when the anxiety and everything was holding you down, where were you mentally, and name that. What would you say that your fear actually was? Is it a fear of people knowing that you existed, or what would you call that anxiety and that fear if you could say it in a sentence? My fear was what?
Well, it depends on which type of anxiety you're talking about, because each one of them were so different.
Well, this is your story.
The
You tell me what you want us to know.
So the social anxiety fear was self-worth, totally, absolutely self-worth. I was picked on and bullied really badly, both at school and at home. And so this created a persona of myself where I wasn't good enough for other people to actually like me for who I was. So I just kind of shut down and didn't even try. And on the small occasion that somebody would try to talk to me, either I had like a scale of everybody in my head, which is not good. You know, everybody should be on the same level playing field. But in my head, if I didn't feel like I was good enough for this particular person to be talking to me and being actually nice to me, then I would be mean to them. And so kind of like a defense mechanism. So
Sure.
I felt like I had to get them before they could get me. But, you know, if you were kind of like not a popular kid, the same as I was not a popular kid, I would give you a chance and I actually, you know, would talk to you and stuff like that. But if I didn't feel good enough on your level, then that would kind of dictate how I responded to that. So yeah, that was the social anxiety aspect. It was 100% self-worth. I didn't feel worthy of people's attention or kindness. So therefore, I rejected it when it did come my way. Trauma-based anxiety, most of that, the biggest part is I totaled 2 vehicles in 3 days.
Oh my goodness.
So, yeah, it's I'm almost proud of it. I don't know. It's impressive, right?
I was going to say that's kind of impressive, but I'm waiting to make sure that everyone was okay.
Like, I'm obviously not proud of, it's not my finest moment at all.
Right.
But
I'm sure there was awesome learning lessons, like hardcore.
Well, it resulted in me not driving at all for 6 years. And so every time I would drive to work and to school and back home, but that was it. That was absolutely it. I would not go to the store if somebody wouldn't drive me. I would just sit around and wait until somebody could take me. Or if I had an appointment or something, then and somebody couldn't drive me there, I would reschedule the whole appointment so that I would have a driver to take me. It was
Wow.
every time I got behind the wheel, I would have panic attacks and nearly black out and have to pull over on the side of the road. So that was a fear. That was a trust thing. I didn't trust
Yeah, that was
myself.
definitely like a protection.
Yeah, I didn't trust myself anymore. After I totaled my car, and then I thought I was fine after I totaled my car. And then I was in my grandfather's truck 2 days later, somebody slammed on their brakes in front of me to turn with no blinker or anything, and no warning. And I panicked and hit the culvert. But anyway, so that was that. And then postpartum.
You were obviously okay both times?
Yeah, we had like
Okay.
some minor cuts and scrapes and bruises. My knee still bothers me sometimes, but it was never anything like serious. But
I mean,
yeah.
it still hurts you after this long. That's serious enough. Like, dang. Just a little pain
Yeah,
to remind you, like, watch it.
well, if I, like in yoga, for example, if I
Yeah.
spend too much time on that leg or that knee, put too much pressure on it, then it'll start smarting a little bit. Or if I go running, jogging's okay, but running's too high impact for it. So, you know, just little things. Most of the time it sleeps, but there is some times where I can aggravate it. But
Yeah.
then my postpartum anxiety, which I didn't know was a thing, and most people don't. We hear about postpartum depression,
Right.
but postpartum anxiety is probably just as, if not more common than postpartum depression. But postpartum depression is a blanket term for all postpartum mental health problems.
Yeah.
And which are most of which is like hormone based and whatnot. That I don't even know how to explain it. I felt like the world was going to end. And I guess I had spent my whole life just focused on taking care of me and myself. And like, I had went through bouts of depression and suicidal thoughts and all of that. So my whole aspect towards life was like, man, whatever, for a long time. And then all of a sudden I had this other life to take care of. And then I suddenly was like, oh my God, a comet could hit us tomorrow and we would all die. A lot of stuff was going on in the news then, which, you know, a lot of stuff's going on in the news all the time, especially these days. But I was terrified somebody was going to bomb us and my child was going to die. And then I was terrified that if we went out to eat or to a movie or something like that, somebody would shoot the place up. Like, so that's kind of like how that anxiety went. And then my allergy-based anxiety, though, was absolutely not tied to any thoughts or worries, which is what a lot of people don't realize. Anxiety can absolutely manifest with no overthinking and fears attached to it. Because, you know, somebody who doesn't have anxiety, they're like, just calm down. Just take a deep breath. It's okay.
I hate when people tell me to calm down. That's like my trigger.
Yeah. I told my husband yesterday, I was like, can you just erase that phrase from your vocabulary, please?
My husband had to learn that because I taught him very early. I will go ape shit on you if you tell me to calm down one more time.
It makes it worse. Like, that is not helpful. But yeah. With allergy-based anxiety, it didn't manifest as thoughts. Like, I felt like my nerve endings were trying to come out of my skin. My alertness and kind of fear levels were on alert. Like, I was terrified something was going to happen, and I felt like I needed to run or get away, but nothing was going on. There was no rhyme or reason to it. Like, I would be fine 1 minute cooking dinner, and the next minute I would have this like a panic attack. But come to find out, I had a soy allergy, and that's what was causing that. So as soon as I cut that out of my diet, it went away. But the soy allergy-based anxiety was absolutely by far the worst, because I understood the other ones. I knew where they were coming from to an extent. You know, obviously when I was a kid, I didn't understand what was going on and why I felt the way I did and all of that. But yeah. So that's kind of like in a nutshell, each one.
Yeah. So that's a lot of information for me, because I'm like, wow, I didn't know like that in depth on the stuff. So everyone that is watching, like, did you guys know that there was this many different types of anxieties and like all of the information? That was great education, I feel like.
Good.
But so Savannah, with when fear was holding you back, right? Like, you mentioned at one point you had suicidal thoughts and like you were really depressed, and obviously the anxiety. So like, when all of that was going on, like, how did you really feel about yourself?
Back to the self-worth stuff, I had absolutely none. I couldn't understand my place or why I was here or why I was so different than everybody else and why people were mean to me and why I didn't have any friends and, you know, just all of the things, you know, why can I not that? Why, you know, and you try to shape and form yourself into a more acceptable version of yourself in hopes of gaining that connection with somebody and people and finding your place in society and feeling part of the group and connected. Because that's really the only thing any of us really want is to be loved and accepted for who we are and stuff. But in trying to reshape myself into something I wasn't, then you come off as fake or a try hard, or, you know, like, it just also, it repels what you're trying to do. And the trick is, and a lot of people, it's hard to come to terms with this because it feels counterintuitive. You know, I feel like I'm being myself and I'm repelling all of the people, but if I try to be a more acceptable version of what they like, then I'm still repelling them. Like, I don't understand, what am I supposed to do? And the trick is to be yourself, but love who you are unapologetically. Stop trying to pretend you're that when you're not, and just be you and be okay with being you and like being you. And no matter what that likes, that confidence and that self-love is going to attract other people, because other people want that confidence and self-love too. So you become charismatic and kind of magnetic towards other people. And then when you really start accepting who you are and loving who you are and finding the confidence in being that person, then you attract more people than you want.
Yep. I have a microphone that doesn't work, and I need to start bringing it on these so that when people say things like that, and I'm just like, yes, 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 amen, amen. I'm just gonna go boom. Just for the symbolization. No, that was amazing and so spot on. I love that so much. So you talked a lot about like you mentioned, you know, support and people, and like that's my next question is like, how did relationships, you know, like community specifically you mentioned, how have relationships shifted in your life, you know, when you were going for better for yourself and really stepping out into who you are? Like, you're on this right now. Like, I know that when we talked, you were like, people would have said no way, no how, and I wouldn't have guessed it either. But like, talk about relationships. How did relationships shift with you during this process?
Okay, so a little bit on where I'm coming from with relationships is that I have felt 100% alone for most of my life, which is, you know, we talked about how big my family is, or how like ingrained into this area I am. I have a huge family. You can't kick a rock around here without hitting a relative. And I didn't fit in with any of them. I found out when I was 17 that my dad actually adopted me. So he wasn't my biological dad. So they're all blonde haired, blue eyed. And I look like this. And they're all sporty and I'm artsy. And like, it was never, never a connection there. And so didn't really have a connection with my family. I didn't really have connection with people at school, didn't have a connection anywhere with anybody. So that's where I started. And then for a while, for a long time, you know, you just kind of mull in self-pity and loneliness. You're like, well, you know, I'm the martyr here, you know, and if you understand the archetype of the martyr, they feel like they're on the good side of things and that everybody else is like condemning them and they have like a cause. And so there's that. But eventually I really started trying to figure out where I was going wrong and why I couldn't have relationships with people. And so it evolved into where I had to learn how to be the leader to have relationships, if that makes sense. I'm a little bit of I can be a follower or a leader. I'm not attached to one or the other. I've been put in a lot of positions where somebody needed to lead, and because honestly, nobody wants to lead, but somebody needs to. And once you understand that, it makes directing things a lot easier. And once you understand the psychology behind all of that, it's not that nobody wants to be your friend. It's that everybody is stuck in their own head of why won't people love me and accept me for me. They're too busy doing that to love and accept other people around them. So people have these expectations.
And themselves. A lot of the time people aren't even thinking about us, right? Like
right,
people aren't
absolutely.
even caring about us, and we're like so in our own heads thinking, why don't they like me? What did I do wrong? And at the same time, they're not even thinking a single thought about us.
No, they're in their head with what did I do wrong and why don't people like me?
Right.
Most people are.
So how did that shift for you, right? What was the jumping? Where did you jump ship from having all of the negative side of things and the anxiety and stuff, and like start to make the shift to know like you can make progress for yourself to open up to these connections? What compelled you to want to do that?
Well, I don't think it was like a certain point in time where like a switch flipped and we went from this to that. It was kind of gradually built over time with my own personal development growth. And where all of that started was, you know, I had this severe anxiety and whatnot that was holding me back in everything, in every aspect of life. I was trapped inside my house essentially because I was afraid to leave it, and I was afraid to drive, and I was afraid to do all these things, afraid to talk to people. I couldn't even talk to a cashier at a store or a server at a restaurant. And so I knew I had a vision for my life, in the sense of I knew I wanted something more than what I had and what I was used to and what I had grown up in. And not that there was anything wrong with any of those things. That's just, I wanted more. And
Right.
I knew I couldn't have more in the state of mind that I was in currently. So it literally started with me Googling how to be successful.
Wow.
And
that's a great tip for anyone that's like so lost right now and you're like, I don't know what the hell to do. Google how to be successful. There you go.
That's it. And through that, I kind of like stumbled into the personal development world and became addicted to it, and was like, wow, because I'm the type of person that I'm a Taurus. I don't know if you follow astrology at all.
Okay.
Tauruses get a really bad rap for being stubborn and stuck in their ways. But what people don't realize is that, yeah, we're stubborn and stuck in our ways until you show us a better way to do something. And then we're absolutely in it.
Loyal is the word I think of then.
What's that?
I said loyal is the word that I think of for that. Loyal, right? Like show you a different way to do it better or whatever. And then you're going to be loyal to that because you're like, yeah, this is better and I'm going to do that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So coming into the personal development world, they were showing me all these better ways of doing, thinking, acting, being. And I was like, wow, yeah, why aren't we doing like this right here? And so it kind of just grew from there. And in that is where I learned about leadership and how nobody wants to be a leader, but somebody needs to be a leader. And if you can find it in yourself to take the lead, then you can completely have, do, or be anything that you want in life.
That's great advice right there. What other things would you tell the viewers that are feeling like there's so much overwhelm right now with where the state of our planet is, with where, everything that's going on, but also like if they're having specific anxiety issues right now or some kind of mental health struggle that they're going through, like what advice would you give them past that, right? Dive into personal growth, yes. Like what other things would you tell the viewers that are great starting points?
So I used to be really bad about being overwhelmed all the time, and I'm still overwhelmed a lot of the time. So don't get that wrong. I'm still working on my things. But when I first became kind of awakened to the state of the world and whatnot, I started noticing there's so many paths that you could go down that are lifestyle changes that are earth positive. Like there's the zero waste, and then there's veganism, and then there's recycling, and then there's water conservation, and then there's energy saving, and like there's all these different paths that we can go to live a better lifestyle for ourselves, others, the world, all of that. And I got super overwhelmed with trying to navigate it all because I felt like I had to do it all. And
you were going to save the planet.
Well. Yes, absolutely. That was my, yeah. Yeah, it was big. And, politics goes into that as well, because I understand that politics is how we make big change, voting in people who have the same, exercising our right to vote, essentially. And so I was trying to go zero waste, and I was trying to, every time I opened the refrigerator or turned on the faucet, my stress levels rose with every second that it was open or on. So I was trying to recycle all of the things. I was trying to go vegan. I was trying to do all of this with small children and a husband who was not on board or understanding, and a family who had never been heard of this stuff, much less wanted to try it. And, so I totally get the overwhelming aspect of all of that. My best advice is to take everything one step at a time. You can't change a whole lifestyle overnight. That's why diets don't work. That's why getting a gym membership and suddenly overnight deciding that you're going to make all of these changes doesn't work. It has to be one step at a time. You have to they say a 1% change every day is a 365 change in a year. So, and I don't even recommend doing it that much. You know, I recommend a 1% change every 3 to 5 days, because that's how you make things stick. You pick something small, change it, hang out a little bit until it's second nature and you're doing it without thinking, because there's levels of, okay, so you start out as unconsciously incompetent. That means you don't know what you don't know. If you've never seen shoes in your life, then you have no idea that you don't know how to tie them. The next level is consciously incompetent. Now you know shoes exist, you know all these things exist, but you know that you don't know how to tie them. So then the next level is consciously competent. And that's why when you know how to tie the shoes now, but you have to think about it. It's a part of your, your thought process. It takes a little time and a little energy. The last stage is unconsciously competent, which means it's second nature. You can do it now without thinking. It's just another part of your day. It's not a big deal. So I like to implement one change at a time until we can get to that consciously or unconsciously competent stage where you're doing it without thinking, you're doing it in second nature before we ever add another thing. Because you can't think of lifestyle changes as a overnight thing. We're in it for the long haul, for life. You want to think about changes that are going to affect you 30 years from now, not in a couple of months because your wedding is coming up or whatever. So stemming off of that, dealing with all of the things that are going on in the world right now, focus small. You can only control that which is directly in front of you. You can't control what people over there are doing. You can't control what the politicians are doing after you vote them in office. You can't control the things that the news is talking about. Cut it off. I'm not saying shut yourself off completely from the world. It's important to know what's going on, but don't become consumed with it. I allow myself like 5 to 10 minutes a day to check up on the worldly news and whatnot, the local news. I'll scan headlines. Does any of this pertain to me? And not that you shouldn't be concerned with other people and things that pertain to other people, but if you're particularly overwhelmed, you need to focus on controlling what's directly in front of you, picking one or two causes or things to focus on so that you can actually, because when you're focused on everything all at once, then you're not making any progress for you or anyone. You're just adding chaos to the pot, adding overwhelm and anxiety to the pot, which is causing everybody around you to become overwhelmed and anxious because we pick up on each other's vibes and feelings and whatnot. So if you can just focus on a few things, and for most of us, that starts with focusing on ourselves. We can't help anybody until we help ourselves. We can't change the world until we change ourselves. We can't influence or help our family even. We can't be the best we are for our family until we're the best we are for ourselves. So that's my advice. Start small. Focus inward, because once we heal our own problems, then we can heal the world. Because when you heal your own problems, you inspire others to heal as well. And then they inspire others to heal. It's a ripple effect that goes out into the world. And when we heal ourselves, we heal the entire world as a whole. Yeah, it'll take some time, but that's the only way to do
it. There you go. You guys have the roadmap right now. There you go. I love it. No, it's so true. And I am implementing that specifically in my life, right? Like I'm doing a 75 hard challenge, which isn't crazy on paper. And the little incremental things that I was doing before I agreed to do this challenge is why I am on day 46 of it out of 75 right now. It's not because I decided I was going to do all 5 of these aspects in one sitting. I was doing half of them incrementally but inconsistently before, and now pulling it all together has made it a habit, a ritual, and I'm in that space of working out and being in the unconscious competence section of my habits that have been serving me well. So I agree so much. Like that is a huge, huge advice to give the viewers on like where we sit with our mindsets and like what we can do and achieve. Like take a tiny bite and just like start, and don't take on the whole world and save the planet, you know, like save yourself first and go from there. So that was great. So you definitely have tools that you've equipped yourself with to work through these mindsets and calm yourself and like work through the anxieties and things like that. So I'm a visionary. I love hearing what your vision is. And you mentioned, you know, you do have a vision. So I'd love to ask, like, where do you see yourself 5 years from today?
So I don't like to do time increments. I have no concept of time at all. And honestly, when you get into the metaphysics of manifestation and whatnot, time is kind of irrelevant. So I want to eventually open up my own yoga studio, but I want it to be like a wellness center type yoga studio.
Nice.
I want to bring in partners that do massage therapy, Reiki, maybe aromatherapy, those type of things to bring healing to the community. So that's kind of like my local vision for life. On a bigger scale, I have entertained writing some books. I have 4 or 5 ebooks now that range anywhere from like 20, 30 pages to like 100 or so. So I'm in the process of dismantling those because I wrote them in like 2016. So I've learned a lot since. Right. So I'm in the process of dismantling them one by one to create online courses for them. Nice. And the first of which is a self-love course, which will be done in like a month or 2. Woo! Like I said, I don't like time increments. Yeah. I get, you know, the nature of people is not to be constricted by time increments. Right. That's why we have different time increments to measure the world. You know, we don't only have minutes and hours and days, but we also have months and then the moon cycles for the people who don't fall in line with the month cycles. And, you know, like there's all these different things that we can go by. I've never believed in waiting until Monday to start something. You know, today's as good a day as any. And if you're waiting till Monday, you're honestly just procrastinating and making excuses. Right. And probably not going to stick with it anyway if you have to wait till Monday to do it. But yeah, so we as humans, we overestimate what we can do in a year, but underestimate what we can do in 5 years. Yeah. So it just kind of, and since I have small children, you know, I kind of just let the wind take me where it will, because with small children, trying to plan things like that is laughable. So.
Yes. I totally agree with you. And I asked the 5-year really specifically just so that we can get a view, because I write down goals all the time and say it's 5 or 10 years. And I'm like, I'm going to knock that out in 2 years. I don't even know. Like it's just going to be fast. So no,
it depends on how motivated you feel and how called you feel, and your motivation and alignment and calling may change tomorrow, because your motivation and alignment and calling is focusing you in this specific direction right now because you have this specific lesson to learn. You may learn that lesson tomorrow, and then all of a sudden your motivation and willpower to do that thing is just going to cease overnight, and you're going to be called to do this over here. And that's it's a little jumpy, but if you're coming from a sense of intuition and understanding and knowing who you are and your connection to source, then it's following your calling. But a lot of people can't differentiate between following your intuition and your calling and then just hopping from idea to idea. And so, yeah, to figure that out, I always recommend my clients focus on something for at least 3 to 6 months, because 3 to 6 months in the grand scale of life isn't really that long. If you can focus on something, if you're unsure about your path and stuff, you will, as time goes by, understand, because you're practicing when you focus on one thing or another, you're practicing listening to your intuition and source and all that that's coming in. So you'll be able to differentiate the ideas just jumping from one to the thing or your actual calling. You learn.
Right. Yeah. No, that's awesome. And that's so good. To really figure out, you know, are you listening to it? Are you just jumping? But in the scheme of things, like either way, you're going to be learning and growing from no matter what you decide and move to. And it's just, it's all in that one step, like you said. So that's perfect. And so where is the best way for the viewers to connect with you, Savannah?
So my website, earthandwater.co, is where you can find all of my links. You can email me through a contact form on the site, or you can message me through any social media platform. I'm on Instagram and Twitter at earth_and_water. I also have Facebook page, Facebook group, a YouTube channel. You know, I've got all the things. I've been doing this for a while, so I'm all over the place.
She's in all the places. I love it. We can find you. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on, sharing a little bit more about your background, your story, the way that you look at the world. It's such a beautiful, beautiful thing to hear different perspectives on time and, you know, resources for our planet, like everything. You are weird in the best ways possible. And I love it. And seriously though, thank you so much for your time. This was awesome. And for the viewers that are watching, go connect with Savannah on any of the platforms that she just mentioned. Reach out to her. If you have any questions about any of the real details that she was just saying, don't hesitate to connect with her. And Savannah, thank you again for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Remember to love yourself and live fearlessly, and have an awesome day, everyone.